The temple. A tale hidden around the corner is the chance. I attended school full-time, worked full-time, and had an internship before it ended. In any case, my 25-year-old wife of 4 years is having an affair. While at the doctor's office, she gave the arm a letter, which is how I learned about it. Nevertheless, when she closed on Tuesdays, I learned that she was engaging in same behavior with a coworker at her job. I was at school and her mother was at our house with the kids. I left after learning that she had phoned the police to report that I had taken her car, but had been apprehended for touching her. She started hitting me, so I shoved her to get off of me without touching her. Anyhow, I returned later. Just glad my wife still loved me after 3 days. Thus, the entire time I'm there, I'm just highly skeptical. Spying on her, calling her Facebook, and doing all the wrong things. We split up after Halloween, but I continued to pick her up from home in the morning, drive her to work, and hang out with the kids until the babysitter arrived on Mondays. She started at 12 p.m., so on Tuesday I would only work for 4 hours. In other words, she was eating her cake and having it. I discovered she was dating him this past Sunday. I then began the 180. On Monday night, she texted me asking if I was minding the girls after blowing up my phone. 3 are mine, I replied. Just drop them off at my house, which is my mom's. I ended it there after she declined. She said it would be good to hear my voice when she contacted me Tuesday morning. My baby, who is 1, had been saying "Daddy" all morning. I didn't respond. I texted her at 9 in the morning asking to talk to our older child. She refused to allow me. Despite her attempts to plead with me, I refused to give in. I want to turn things around for myself and regain my confidence and sense of worth. But I also wish for her return. I apologize for the faults I committed in the past. I am aware that my deeds speak louder than words. Man, as soon as I found out, I shared it on Facebook. In fact, I called their corporate office yesterday and identified myself as an employee, albeit anonymously. Still, I believe she might be fired for it. The other man is expecting a child with his girlfriend. She currently earns far more money than I do, and we had a great rental house with 1 vehicle payment. She would have to move back in with her parents and their 3 children if she lost her job, along with the house and car. However, her $1,200 rent check recently bounced, and she was still $200 overdue to the landlord. I called the landlord and said I was sorry. I added, "You have to talk to her because I don't live there," which she never discussed with the landlord. Since we don't share bank accounts, the check was written in her name. She can be reached by text or phone at any time of day. I'm not sure what she is apologizing for. I haven't replied yet. For now, I'm happy, since I'm not going to be running back just yet. I hope the initiative is in my favor. I will never do that once more. That used to be my regular behavior. I still need to take stock of my feelings. After about a month, I filed for divorce, and she was served when she attempted to collect support. I was given an order of protection 2 days later. 1 week prior to Christmas, I received a text this morning with updates on my kids from a number I had never seen before. It continued, "We miss you." Even so, what does that mean? Is my spouse doing that for the children or for herself as well? I simply lost all trust in her. Therefore, we haven't spoken for at least 2 weeks at this point. Although it is becoming a bit easier every day, I still love her. She has previously received an order of protection. It was her 5 years ago. Although there were many lies stated, they naturally preferred the woman since she is a woman. I posed no threat to her or my kids in the slightest. I wed a crazy woman. I gave it my best. When I was 16, she and I began dating. We broke up and then got back together a year later. Then ended things. Reunited after a 3-year break. I could write a book about our relationship, which has lasted for almost 12 years. I don't give a damn about her right now. For now, my wife and I are no longer together, but she will return because I know her like the back of my hand. But I hope I can make fun of her this time, as it's not the first time. This is what she did to me. My 3 children are all girls, ages 6 and under. The children's names are on the order of protection, but I won't disregard them. To check on my daughter's progress in school, I am unable to even give her school a call. Get Teacher was aware that my wife and I were no longer together based on our chats. All I cared about was my daughter's condition. The instructor replied that she really enjoyed my call and that I will give her more attention. I gotta go to a party and have fun for the first time in 7 years on New Year's Eve. However, a few novel things occurred today. Ma used a blocked number to call me. Since he has been contacting me from a blocked number since he is in some major trouble, I assumed it was my pal. However, I picked up and spoke with her, giving her the impression that I'm doing great. But I won't answer the phone for a blocked person until following the initial court date. I recently learned that my wife relocated in the Om. That is painful. How could she, who says she loves our children so much, do that to them? Knowing he's in there kept me up last night. Today, I'm going to attempt to break the lease. She still has the protective order in Cordy's tomorrow and me. All I want is to see my children and give each of my 3 young daughters a hug and kiss. I'm not sure whether I can take this pain anymore. I'll maintain my composure and be the proud dad that I am. My sister and parents are traveling with me. You all have been fantastic. My family and friends provide me with an excellent support network. In fact, my closest STBX friends, with whom I have been hanging out, completely disagree with her choice and support me. Divorce court is on the 30th, but the court sucked for the order. I saw my kids for the first time in 6 weeks this past Sunday. They were dropped off and collected up by my mother-in-law. However, it was an amazing day, and this week will be much better. However, my STBX was planning something special. I essentially have to assist her pay the expenses in order for me to see them again. Groceries and rent, as long as her boyfriend is still alive. I will so state this. I chatted with the boyfriend's pregnant fiancée while laughing. It's true that she is expecting his daughter. Her due date is February 8th. Then my STBX had the audacity to call me a deadbeat. She claimed he is not at all there for her and shouldn't drive her to doctor's appointments. Knowing that I'll be improving myself and graduating from college in March makes me giggle, and I'm relieved that I don't have to tell her about it. I have a query about yesterday's events involving my former spouse. I texted her, wishing her well in life, and she responded. I said, "I'm very successful and happy." Thank goodness you're happy at last. I've forgotten what it feels like to be happy. She texted me back, and I assumed she would say something like, "I'm glad you're happy too. Thank you for lying." No, it said, speculating. Everything you've ever desired is to be single and childless. I'm happy you can finally live the life you've always desired in your early 20s without being bound by anything. Is she joyful or angry now? I recently started a radio podcast and will soon graduate. And for me, everything seemed to be getting better. And I'm genuinely content. My daughters understand that they are my life and that they love me. In fact, I'm stating as I wake up that life is good. Fresh progress. She wants me back, though I have no idea what to do. I want my kids to have both of their parents, and I really love her. Today was my only time with her. She assured me that she loved me unconditionally. That she apologizes. I said, well, I have a lot of work ahead of me. Therapy. Church. I also need to give it some thought. She also dropped the bomb. She is carrying a child. She wants to put the kid up for adoption. Well, crap. I said that the baby is not at all to blame. You are at fault for your ignorance. However, I told her to give me some time to consider this. I have no idea what to think, damn it. I went to the gym just now to let off steam. I'm just going to concentrate on my studies and see if I can pull this off. For my children as well as for myself. He remarks, well, she's pregnant. I mean, really, dude, what the heck? What on earth makes you ever consider having another relationship with this woman? Tell her to get over it and leave. The most dehumanizing thing that can happen to a person is this. When she is carrying another man's child, would you be able to look at her face without feeling repulsed? She no longer desires you to be her spouse, her lover, and her one and only. She wants you back in your role as a slave and provider. Avoid falling into this snare. If you haven't already, girlfriend. Man, please don't be so mean. She deserves to know. Oh, I shouldn't even be thinking about this. P. Replies. Both of them are filthy. Why I do believe in her at all. It's quite difficult to trust her. It's terrible that she is expecting a child with a man who doesn't even look for his own. Well, whatever, I won't even bother about that now. Divorce court is on the 30th. After that, we'll see what occurs. They're both scum. Damn it. I'm carrying on with my divorce. I have no concerns about her. In addition to receiving paternity testing, I am going through a divorce. Everything will help me feel better. Remarks. She says she loves you more in her new pitch. As you proceed towards your divorce, let's examine the sincerity of this new proposal. Will she be the capable mother the children need? a better person for herself and put in the extra effort on your own behalf, thinking she might take notice? Or will she respond, "Don't worry, it doesn't really matter. You're still divorcing. I'll keep going in the same direction. Throw a self-pity party, disregard my kids, go out with my buddy, and look for a new person who will take me in." Check to see if her perspective has changed in a way that will determine whether you decide to end this divorce or stick with your existing course. Follow your current course and observe her true desire for her family. Before she begins to show, I'm willing to wager that she throws a small self-pity party and gets laid by someone unfamiliar. She probably lacks the strength to maintain her shanties and improve herself for her children. Op says, "I got to focus on myself and my kids, and that's what I'm going to do," in response to the whole scenario, which does stink. She really is insane. She now wants to make amends in our marriage, but that will take time. Reconciling our marriage bothers me greatly. She has been giving them to me every weekend, but she is growing upset since I don't support the kids. However, she also gripes to me about her upcoming car removal and her tenant payments. She labels me a jerk even though I told her this is what she wanted. Do you think she is delighted that she is 8 weeks pregnant when I inform her that she still has the order? Well, it's been about a month, and I'm still not legally divorced. Every weekend, my small girls come over. It's incredible. I give her $75 a week for babysitter's bullshit. Last year, I made $16,000 and she made $50,000. After I pay her, I'm essentially broke, so it doesn't make sense. But I'm missing my family right now. "Daddy, will you still like spicy food when you come home?" My daughter questioned me. How to respond to that was beyond me. Right now, I simply feel worthless and alone. All I want is to get home. She moved the in, got a restraining order against me, and kicked me out. 2 weeks ago, the restraining order was revoked. Updated a few weeks later. It's been a few weeks since my last post, but a lot has transpired. To begin with, I graduate on Friday. It feels great to have accomplished that. What a relief! Every day, my feelings for my soon-to-be ex get a bit weaker. It is pleasant to feel. I went out with another woman after meeting her, and we have been friends ever since. For the past 2 weeks, nonstop texting has been going on all day, every day. Every morning, she texts me and says, "Good morning, sunshine." For me, life seemed to be returning to normal. My children are doing well, and my life is starting to look better. I'm rediscovering my love for life. However, I think that living with my parents is a little bit weird. However, I would have nothing at all without them. My opinion Op made a mistake once, but he won't do it again sounds reasonable in relation to story 2. I've been married for 4 years, and my spouse and I have been dating for 7. Our daughter is 4 years old. Despite the fact that I moved out of frustration, we have been formally separated for 6 months. I've been working on a long-buried affection for him over the past 2 months. When I told him I wanted to give it another go and that I still loved him, he responded that he did too. That's where the roller coaster started, even though I believe we both convey true love. Narrative 3. There is still so much to sort out. We currently live together in the same house. We have had terrible arguments in addition to being close. It appears that he believes that I will be anything he wants me to be when I return and that he won't need to change. He's been really cooperative, cordial, and helpful. Whenever we go to discuss topics below the surface, he always ends up blowing up and saying, "I don't know about all of this." He pushes so many buttons, and I can see that he has a lot of unsolved, even buried issues with love, anger, and trust, as well as compassion. I'm ready to put some effort into everything and modify my actions somewhat. However, I don't want to turn into a doormat. I departed in the first place because I have legitimate concerns, how we referred to it back then, a trial separation. And if we're both willing, I genuinely think we can resolve our differences. He is clearly unsure and would want to resume his separation, while residing in the same home as he is unable to pay for an apartment. In the first rush of being back together, I now believe that giving him space is the appropriate thing to do. We spend a lot of time thinking and planning for the future. But while everything is up in the air, it is really hard for me to get along with everyone in the house, and friendliness is unquestionably necessary. Even saying he wants to work with me on problems is something he can't do consistently. A few days later, he will retract what he said. I firmly believe that he has to undergo some genuine healing, and I want him to have enough faith in me to accompany me on this journey. There's a lot of mending ahead for us both. Do you have any ideas about how to live with someone else without making things worse? How can you avoid becoming envious when your lover takes their time and instead be patient? How can you gently help your partner discover why they are unable to communicate their feelings or control your own? With the exception of the first 4 or 5 months, everything has been difficult from the beginning. We've been dealing with some extremely challenging problems. We moved away from family to begin a new life together after my mom passed away suddenly in the first 3 months of our marriage. Throughout the first year, my anguish was never truly surfaced. Furthermore, we might have been too young to seek counseling. We've established a pattern now where he flees from any negative emotion I express. Usually just a bit of a foul mood now and then, but sometimes actual anguish, particularly regarding our connection, which began in these early stages. He also has an extremely addicted nature and is a bit of a workaholic. He used to take booze and medications, but he no longer does, and he is so worried about money that he never wants to go on vacation with me, especially if I suggest the destination. For my part, I enjoy traveling and have a tendency to be grumpy. Great match. No, both of us are working while balancing our daughter's needs, and have so many morals in common that it pains me to think he might discard them all. I understand that he is pushing me away because he doesn't want to confront some of his problems, even though it's not truly conscious. He would rather have a life free from hardship and strife. Is there no chance left for me to persevere? Although I know deep down that the answer is yes, is there anyone out there that could offer some guidance? Be aware that when I swear during an argument, he detests it. And that's how I communicate my frustration to him. I've attempted to tell him. He takes it quite personally. I wish we could have a little argument, call each other names, apologize, and move on. The problem is, he takes it as emotional abuse when I call him a jerk and won't let it go. I thus promised not to curse or use profanity. To what did he consent? I can't recall. It seems insignificant. Maybe I should have asked him to stop stating, "I don't think I can be in this relationship," whenever a minor issue arose that made him uncomfortable. Similar to me cursing or wishing to speak. If he's always questioning the entire relationship, how can we make progress? He won't move out, but he wants his own space. At great personal expenditure, I have already moved out and taken up space. It appears to be his turn now. What bothers me the most is that I begin to believe he's merely playing all the kind words and seeming as though he wants to try, all in an effort to avoid getting into a fight. There will then be conflict. "I'm not sure if I want to be in this relationship," is what he says again. It simply saddens me that he is taking his time when our life together and as a family might be so much better. I'm wondering if he needs it. It's day 9, 2 years later. Ever since my spouse declared he no longer wanted to live with me. This follows a protracted period of conflict. And we spent 5 months apart 3 years ago. We both know there is room for improvement in our relationship, but I've always insisted on making changes. Regarding this, he has been reticent or circumspect. Also, I've made an effort to wait. Before my husband's disclosure, we had only recently begun visiting a counselor. We had discussed breaking up after fights, but I felt like he was willing to work on it through counseling. I went on a 1-week visit to my daughter's family that was scheduled to last for several months. 6 years old, and he informed me he was moving out when I returned. After my first shocked reaction, it was already set up. Please don't do this. I want to work on things and I have realized how much I love him, but I am also aware of some of the ways I haven't been helpful. Needless to say, I am finding the interim quite difficult. He still lives with me and works from his basement studio during the day. He comes up to eat and takes showers and interacts with me as if nothing is wrong. He is even humming and whistling. It's really challenging. I've informed him that I'm here both in person and in letters. I have faith in us, and if we need to sort things out, I'm ready to rebuild the entire relationship. Furthermore, that since it's obvious he needs the space, I won't stop him from going. His reasons for leaving have changed over time. From "you have a grumpy personality" to "I need to follow my own path" to "I'll get cancer if I stay in here any longer. We have spent more than 9 years together and nearly 6 years married. Some friends advise me to move on and highlight what a jerk he is for acting in this manner. Others advise me to continue holding a place in my heart for him while moving forward with preparing to be a single parent, but they never really explain why. I'm in so much pain that there's not really a sensible choice. Not even instinctive feelings are helpful. I want to do everything in my power to understand what went wrong and to see things from his point of view since I know that I love him. Indeed, ideally, what is rebuildable? I'll only provide a brief explanation of one thing that I believe could have actually contributed to the divide in order to keep this post brief. He's acknowledged his transgender identity, which up till now has meant donning underwear, shoes, earrings, and some female apparel. He's not bringing it up at all as a reason for the breakup, but I'm willing to talk about it and don't think it has to mean the end of the relationship. When he has previously come out with various feminine stuff, I have responded poorly. I was shocked, upset, and asked a lot of questions. But it was an initial reaction based on feeling threatened and wondering what that meant for us. I want him to know that, like I promised at our wedding, I am capable of changing and becoming empathetic and transparent. All I want to know is what's going on and how he came to doubt me. It's challenging to go past first impressions, and I want to prove to him that I'm capable of more. For fear that I may reject him, he hasn't given me the opportunity to accept and see him for who he really is. As a result, he is rejecting me first. But he is the one I married in a lot of ways. After all of this, our relationship may look very different. However, it need not adhere to the conventional X versus X concept. Together, we have a lovely daughter, and he assures me that he will always love me. What new frontiers might we explore together? The spectrum of gender identity is likewise quite diverse. Everybody contributes to it. Furthermore, he might not be entirely committed to becoming a woman. I might want a romantic relationship with him if he did. But who knows, even then, and I would want to stand with him and encourage him. I feel for him, and I know that I love him very much, and I want him to know that he is loved and accepted by me. We still spend our entire lives together because of our daughter. And above all, we must talk to each other about this. The other woman is a mother of one child. She said she wasn't involved when I confronted her. He is the only one doing this. She disputes doing anything to lure him on, even though he used the phrase emotional affair. Either way, I have concluded that she is not a friend. I'm not kidding. Mostly because it seems that she told him things like, maybe in a year, don't rush into things, and other such nonsense. In addition, the mere sight of her photo makes me nauseous. Fortunately, her friendship wasn't close. It's really difficult to tell where he is. He picked up my daughter to drive her to school today, and in one glance, he can seem so kind, so distant, so sad. I can understand why NC is beneficial, even though I haven't seen him in the last 2 days despite missing him. It hurts too much to try to avoid or stare into his eyes. I just have no idea what he's thinking about me, the tiny notes I've left him, my stated willingness to try to sort things out, and really, what the heck are you thinking? Even with transgender concerns, I find it hard to believe he's prepared to go even a few days without seeing his kid. Transcribed his acts of self-centeredness are a result of his cross-dressing. Any anecdotes of folks that left the BS with children? Ramifications for law. The only thing that relieves me is this thinking. If this is indeed the end, then moving on is the only way I can see it, not in the sense that he'll never see his daughter. And how long must I wait before I know when to give up? I'm willing to attempt anything. I don't think it matters how involved he is with the other woman at this time. If he chooses to resolve things even after that brief affair, I'll be ready to give it my best shot. Though it's almost as if I can picture him thinking, how would we ever be friends again if I got back with a wife? He doesn't actually seem to be there. It's as like he is focusing his attention on something fleeting rather than our 9-year marriage. He ought to be ashamed of himself for the way he's handled this. I know I can stop the notes at any time. However, I feel like shame and guilt are driving him away in certain ways. I'm ready to forgive already. I simply don't want him to take any more risks or do something that he believes he can't undo. With one notable exception, of course. He might prefer to continue dressing as a transgender person rather than transitioning. He won't say, therefore I'm not sure. Is I prepared to wait and accompany him on what might turn out to be a year-long journey? Even now, I'm not sure. Yes, my heart whispers, but will I just end up being frustrated? As an aside, I miscarried this year at the age of 4 months. Before I became pregnant, we tried for 8 months. I'm surprised, in part, that he would support me in growing our family to that extent, and then decide it wasn't meant for him after I miscarried. The most recent thing that has happened is that I am now aware of my rage. I still have love for my H. I'm furious because he named me his ex-partner this morning for the first time. This past weekend, he moved out and took items without asking permission. acting like this is final, as in, would you still think we can work things out when I start a new relationship? And wanting to just hand me a check and call it quits on our arguments. I understand his desire for space, but he just stated that it was the primary cause of our breakup, at least the seventh, because he never felt that he could have his own place in our house. How come he never asked? Additionally, he moved into a shared home where dinners are shared, making everything feel comfortable and homey, and that he won't be able to drive our daughter to school the next morning. He's only had contact with her for childcare in the last 3 weeks since he wants to get to work early because dinner is served early at the new house. Speak of prioritizing your new life over your daughter. I'm furious right now. He's doing this, but why? I most likely approach things incorrectly. How do I do a 180 with kids? By being honest with him about my belief in reconciliation. It doesn't seem conceivable to be in communication. Now that the day is over, I feel a lot less like yelling and ripping out my hair. He is indeed behaving like a teenager. But Angel, I believe I shall love him forever. No, my family isn't present to assist with pickup or drop off. However, I did send him an email today to let him know that our conversations were becoming too hot, and that the only ways we could communicate about our daughter were by phone and email. I know I talked a little too much about things that most of you would find overly transparent and giving, but I believe I have a philosophy on this whole thing. Kill him nice and soft. Being aloof and polite instead of telling him how much I think we can work together hurts my feelings, but I know I have to try. However, I will show him my kindness via the letters I will be writing him. Right now, I still intend to make him for our upcoming 6th anniversary, which is in 2 weeks. I feel like I have too much love in me to crumble just yet. I will schedule a meeting with the family justice mediator first, with whom I have been in contact. Next, I'll see if the H is open to leaving. I should also mention that, up until now, he has desired our daughter more. I've been hesitant to let her move to the new place because he was couch surfing. Thus, it's not like he's not attempting, he's simply not reaching out to me. One more thing about the 180. I worry that the main cause of all of this is his extreme insecurity, coupled with a fatalistic outlook on life. What is going to happen? We'll simply try to make the best of it. And if I fully back off and pretend that I no longer need or want him and have moved on, he'll probably just say, "Oh, well, I guess that's for the best." It's time for a hot bath. But why is our society so accepting of the "I guess it didn't work out" mentality? Now that he's gone, I believe I have clear vision. It's incredible that I almost feel appreciative. Because of what he's done, we have the opportunity to view things from a fresh perspective as a team. Obviously, this depends on his participation, which I cannot compel. However, I'm sure he possesses it. Above all, I own it within me. Regardless of him, this process is going to make me a better person. Because if I can show him this love, I can show it to someone else later on. Ultimately, I would prefer to feel powerful, loving, and proud of who I am, and left feeling angry, bewildered, and saddened by his unwillingness to give us a chance, express his wants, and be present in our marriage. It feels like I'm finally ready for this work. Update. My spouse declared 2 months ago that he wanted to move out and that the relationship was ended. He left on November 20th. I'm still in shock and denial, so it seems like no time at all has passed. I shed 20 pounds. I'm making an effort to take care of myself, but the days fly by. It feels like torture, really. Other than the ability to rant, I'm not sure what I need. I suppose I have friends who understand and are sympathetic, but it doesn't make up for the fact that the thought of moving on and seeing my spouse with other people, even those he isn't romantically involved with, paralyzes me. These days, it hurts just to look at him. The same counselor we visited once before he announced the split was with us last week. He was terrible, me a mess, him all businesslike. He then expressed gratitude to the counselor for her assistance. Really, though, he just shoved his finished product down my throat. There is nothing I can do about it now that it has ended. I want to flee and never see him again because of it. However, our 7-year-old is here. I am at a loss on what to do. How can you get over your child's jealousy and possessiveness, as well as your anger, shock, and disbelief? I want to try to sort things out too much. I've told him I could live without him, but that would be abruptly. Never with him and always because of our daughter. And at the moment, I detest him and I love him. A month later, the pure nightmare of awakening to the realization that he has truly left me and that my entire life is altering. That still shocks me so much. having heard a dozen ugly, cruel excuses instead of a true explanation from him. Like it's a result of my irritable personality. The fact that he was involved in projects like the company we intended to launch together. He is initiating it with another person. As if that weren't enough, he informed me he was in a relationship with someone he was starting it with a common friend. He described it as an emotional affair as well. The way he's behaved since the news. Arriving belatedly to retrieve our daughter. Attempting to steal items from the house that belonged to us both without permission. As he is having a party, he asked me to come grab our kid from his place. Simply inconsiderate and rude to me. The sheer terror of discovering he is so very different from who I had assumed. How am I going to keep talking to him about our daughter? Since this is a tiny town, I don't want to have to see him everywhere. And other pals. It makes me feel so teenage. But the complete insult to all of my efforts to try to build a life with him, to our life together, and to myself. It's very intimate. I tried for more than a month to tell him that I thought we could work through so many of our problems when he announced the split. And that I want to go on because I adore him. It's amazing how done he is. I'm sure many of us have said that here. How could they be so apathetic? Furthermore, how are they able to pretend to be together for as long as they claim? Months. Years. I find it to be really immoral. Well, I don't think that could be done. I worked a meaningless job today and spent half of it writing a letter that had all I needed to say. Many valid questions, but also some irony and some really harsh remarks. The other half of the time I was thinking about all the positive things about him and how I could propose that we get together later on to talk and even, with the assistance of a counselor, heal together. I was thinking about things like discussing the reasons behind the breakup and listening to and acknowledging each other's frustrations, as if he would be open to it. Call it a daydream, but he's so over it. How am I supposed to think about these two concepts simultaneously? How do I know that I care for him even when I'm so wounded and angry? I find it incomprehensible how he has approached this. I know he's partying with new friends and maybe sleeping around. But if he truly wants to have a good co-parenting relationship in the future, he's all business with me. I just don't understand how he could have abandoned me and our daughter, no matter how long he wanted to stay away. He's also stroking my face by saying how eager he is to start a new relationship. With this guy, how do I co-parent? I want to throw a fit like a baby and refuse to give in to every fair request he makes, even if I can't even look him in the eyes. My heart isn't ready to go on, and my intellect can't seem to accept it. 6 months later. Update. The new guy became afraid after weeks of really great dates, deep conversations, a quite cozy feeling, and making arrangements for a few weeks later. He wants to stand back, take some time to reflect, and not sleep together. He remarked that I was too intense, even though I'm a beautiful person. Thus, it resembles a split that occurred before we were truly a couple. I fell in love on the 4th date, so I guess I got into it quite quickly. Still, I'm relieved he applied the brakes. I see now that my assessment was clouded. I still think a lot of him. If he does decide he wants to pursue anything further with me, though, I know to proceed with caution. Undoubtedly, it brought up some of my past hurt, but I'm beginning to sense that I'm responding to it in a different way. Taking a stand, establishing limits, and realizing that I am wonderful, entertaining, and strong all by myself. Maybe he's not the proper person for me if I tell him how much it bothers me to not get a response to an SMS invitation, and he freaks out. If he's out with another lady, and I ask him if we're going on a date while he's a little tipsy, it turns out that she's his roommate. Some guys, meanwhile, would view that as an occasional inebriated mistake that we're all prone to. People would stand up and accuse me of possessiveness and jealousy. If nothing else, this new little relationship has made me feel stronger and more over my ex-partner, which is something I really wanted to mention. I've been working on a lengthy letter for months, but after thinking back on all the bad things that happened in our relationship, including how he wounded me and what a monster he is, I don't feel like writing it anymore. For me, this is a significant advancement. My observation is that, as a result of separation, both are beginning to advance. My comment. We shall arrive one day, but some may take longer than others. If you're new, please subscribe, watch the other stories, and let's continue.